Have you ever felt a sudden rush of clarity, a sense that your life was about to change, but you couldn't explain how or why? Something inside of you whispered that you were on the brink of a revelation, yet everything around you remained strangely ordinary. If you're experiencing that tug right now, then listen closely. What you're about to hear isn't a coincidence. Whether you stumbled upon this moment by chance or by choice, there's a reason it's crossing your path. Every powerful transformation begins this way, seemingly small, yet charged with potential to turn your entire existence upside down. People often talk about the chosen ones, about individuals destined for more than the everyday grind. They've been labeled prophets, visionaries, luminaries, geniuses, even outliers. Some see these titles as pure myth, scoffing at the idea that a specific group of people could carry a unique blueprint. But deep down, those who sense that call know it's not a joke or a fantasy. It's as if your soul recognizes an ancient script, one that reveals a hidden purpose only meant for you. This script is about that timeless call. It's about understanding the illusions that have shaped our beliefs, the fear that's held us back, and the shocking truth that emerges when you awaken to your own power. By the time you reach the end of this story, you may realize you've stepped onto a path from which there is no turning back. But take heed. This path is not for the faint of heart. It demands that you see beyond surface appearances and face the deeper forces in your life, the ones that have been quietly molding your destiny without your conscious permission. If you're ready to unlock what has always been inside you, if you suspect that life can offer more than routine and repetition, keep going. The door is open. Step through it. What comes next may leave you speechless, but it will also set you free. From a young age, some people feel different, as if they're marching to a rhythm only they can hear. Parents, teachers, and friends might label them daydreamers or too sensitive, brushing off that persistent spark as mere eccentricity. But what if the spark is actually a clue? What if it's pointing you to a story beyond the limits of normal experience? For many who identify with this feeling, life becomes a puzzle. You sense pieces that don't fit, unspoken truths that refuse to be silenced. There's a common thread among those who sense this hidden calling, an inexplicable drive, like an instinct guiding them towards something larger. You might have felt it when standing under a wide night sky, or during a moment of solitude when your heart hammered in your chest without reason. It's that sudden awakening when you realize you've barely scratched the surface of what you're truly capable of. Yet, society isn't always kind to those who hear this call. It pressures you to conform, to follow a tried and true path, and to leave behind these silly ideas of destiny. So we push the calling away. We bury it under obligations, relationships, and careers, hoping it will disappear. But it never does. Eventually, it resurfaces, often during times of crisis, heartbreak, or confusion. It forces you to question everything and pulls you into a journey that can be as terrifying as it is exhilarating. Some speculate that these chosen individuals are part of a cosmic plan. Others believe it's just personal ambition masked by spiritual language. Then there are rumors, wild theories about secret societies, hidden communities, or clandestine movements that keep close watch on anyone who shows signs of awakening. Whether or not any of those rumors have substance, the one truth you can't deny is the inner drive propelling you forward. You don't need external proof to confirm it. Your heart knows. Take a moment right now to reflect. Have you ever felt that sense of more calling out to you even when your logical mind tried to dismiss it? If your answer is yes, you're already further along this path than you think. And that's precisely why you're here, to discover what all of this means and how it can alter the course of your life. Before any great awakening, there is often a period of trial, a phase where you feel manipulated, confined, or overshadowed by the demands of others. It's like existing in a box someone else created, while you instinctively know you should be free. This struggle isn't random. It's typically the prelude to transformation, the friction that eventually kindles the spark of self-discovery. Many people discuss how their biggest breakthroughs came right after a series of painful events. Perhaps it was a betrayal by someone you trusted, or a toxic relationship that made you question your own worth. In the thick of it, it feels like an endless maze of doubt and sadness. But there's a hidden gift in every hardship. It forces you to confront what's actually happening behind the scenes. You begin to realize that some people benefit from keeping you small. They might subtly guide your decisions, enforce limits on your imagination, or enforce rules that don't make sense for your life. Why? Because your awakening is intimidating. When you break the boundaries they rely on, they lose the comfort of control. Some of the more controversial chatter online claims that entire systems exist to suppress the chosen ones, ensuring these individuals never realize the full extent of their capabilities. While it may sound like a dramatic conspiracy, history does show many examples of innovative minds and visionaries who were at first ridiculed or belittled. Over time, however, these same voices shaped the world in ways no one could have predicted. But you don't need a grand conspiracy to explain why people resist your growth. Fear is enough. People fear change, especially change in others that they can't understand. They fear that if you outgrow them, you'll leave them behind. And sometimes they fear confronting their own limitations, which your transformation highlights. Here's the twist. Those trying to keep you in the shadows often end up fueling your development. Each form of resistance, each attempt to undermine your dreams, gives you proof that you're on the verge of something significant. After all, no one bothers to suppress a non-threat. If you weren't a force to be reckoned with, they wouldn't go to such lengths to keep you contained. A moment arrives when the clouded lens through which you've been viewing life suddenly clears. It might be subtle, like an aha realization at 3 a.m, or it might strike you like lightning during a mundane workday. Whichever form it takes, you can't ignore it. This clarity sweeps in and reveals the patterns, manipulations, and illusions that have shaped your reality. It can feel unsettling, like discovering a hidden room in a house you've lived in for years. In this burst of insight, all the little things you overlooked click into place. That friend who always seemed to sabotage your confidence, their motives become obvious. The job that left you exhausted and unfulfilled. You see now how it was draining your true potential, not just your time. The illusions that once commanded your loyalty crumble under the weight of undeniable truth. But clarity doesn't stop at unveiling external influences. It also exposes the stories you've been telling yourself, tales of not being good enough, or illusions of unworthiness. You see that these narratives were never factual. They were beliefs whispered into your consciousness by fear, habit, or external pressures. Realizing this gives you a newfound sense of power. If you created, or at least allowed, these stories, you can rewrite them. Yes, it's disorienting. You might feel everything you believed in was a partial lie. Yet this is the gateway to liberation. Once illusions are shattered, there's room for something authentic to take root. You can choose a path guided by honesty, courage, and self-awareness. This transformation is precisely what changes the dynamic between you and those who once held sway. You stop bending to fit their mold. Instead, they find themselves face to face with a version of you they didn't expect, and they can't easily maneuver around a person who sees with crystal clear eyes. Awakening often gets romanticized, with people imagining a grand, mystical event where all answers are revealed in a celestial instant. The reality can be more gradual. A big part of stepping into your power is learning to master your mind. Yes, it sounds cliché to say thoughts become things, but if you really examine your life, you'll see the evidence everywhere. Maybe you've noticed that when you dwell on worst-case scenarios, they tend to show up in some form, or that success appears more likely when you're optimistic, even if it's just a simple confidence that everything will turn out well. This isn't magic, it's about focus. Your mind filters and interprets reality based on what you continuously feed it. If you pour negativity into your thoughts, you become hyper-aware of obstacles. If you feed them possibility and hope, you start noticing resources and opportunities. It's not that you must force yourself to be positive all the time. There's a danger in pretending your pain or fears don't exist. It's about choosing which thoughts to nurture and which to starve. Learn to watch the chatter in your mind without reacting. When a self-defeating thought arises, you can label it as unhelpful and let it pass like a cloud on the horizon. When a constructive, growth-oriented thought emerges, you can channel it into actions or creative pursuits. As your mental discipline grows, you start weaving a new reality that aligns with who you're becoming. In that state, fear might still appear, but it doesn't wield the same power. It's reduced to a faint shadow rather than a paralyzing force. You gain emotional stability because you no longer allow fleeting anxieties to run the show. And once you have that internal balance, your outer world must follow suit. This is the nature of the shift in perspective. It's not just a single epiphany, it's a daily decision to cultivate thoughts that propel you forward. Fear is the invisible gatekeeper that holds so many aspirations. It lurks in your subconscious, softly chanting cautions. What if you fail? What if you look foolish? What if you lose everything? For some, fear even wears a more dangerous mask. What if people judge your beliefs? What if you get ostracized for speaking up? Sometimes fear warns us of legitimate threats, like stepping into traffic without looking both ways. But in spiritual or personal development, fear often acts like a broken compass, insisting you stay in shallow waters when your destiny lies in the open sea. Over time, you learn that fear signals growth. If something scares you deeply, there's a chance it's exactly what you need to explore. Of course, we must distinguish between real danger and the illusions your mind fabricates. But the more you practice stepping into the unknown, the clearer that distinction becomes. You realize fear is fleeting, often amplified by repetitive worry rather than actual harm. A common controversy in spiritual circles involves extreme methods to break free from fear. Some individuals practice intense rituals or life-threatening stunts to prove their courage. These might make headlines or spark rumors online about bizarre secret groups seeking ultimate liberation. But you don't need to risk your life to move past your limitations. Real transcendence happens at the level of mindset and consistent action. Each time you defy a fearful thought, you chip away at its power. Eventually, you find yourself doing things that once felt impossible. Maybe you speak in public with confidence, approach new relationships with an open heart, or make a drastic career shift that once terrified you. Each act of courage reveals that fear was an unfounded phantom, and your triumph over it magnifies your inner strength. Before long, fear becomes less a roadblock and more a sign that you're heading into new, fertile territory. As illusions dissolve and fear loses its grip, you discover a wellspring of energy you never knew you had. Think of it as the warrior within, a force that emerges from deep resilience and unshakable conviction. This warrior isn't about aggression. It's about the willingness to face challenges head-on, fueled by a belief that you're fully capable of rising above adversity. Interestingly, people who tap into this warrior spirit often report an unexpected calmness. You might think they'd be loud, forceful, or combative, but true warriors rarely need to yell. Their power lies in unwavering resolve. When they set a course, they follow through. When obstacles appear, they adapt. When challenges intensify, they dig deeper into their core, trusting that resilience is part of their nature. In certain rumor mills, you'll find tales of secret warrior societies dedicated to honing psychic abilities or supernatural feats. Whether or not these societies exist, the common theme is that discipline and self-knowledge forge extraordinary capabilities. The point isn't to chase fantasies of superpowers. Instead, it's about realizing that your everyday life can be transformative. Waking up each morning with the determination to meet any challenge is, in itself, remarkable. It shifts your aura, your decisions, and your entire trajectory. You'll know your inner warrior is active when you notice your reaction to stress change. Instead of panicking or feeling helpless, you stand firm. You look at the problem with clear eyes and set a plan, no matter how simple, to tackle it. This shift in attitude sends a powerful message to those around you. They see your confidence and either learn from it or recoil from it. In both cases, you maintain your path. That's the warrior's way. Once you realize you're no longer shackled by illusions, fear, or external control, something else happens. You see people around you, family, friends, co-workers, struggling with the very chains you broke, and you feel a calling to show them a different way. This is when your transformation truly expands beyond the personal. It becomes a light that others can use to navigate their own darkness. Empowering others doesn't mean lecturing them or forcing your beliefs onto their lives. Authentic influence doesn't require loud preaching. It's enough to live by example. When someone witnesses your shift from timid or uncertain to confident and purposeful, they naturally wonder how you did it. They become curious, inspired, maybe even skeptical at first. But if they see your consistency over time, it's hard to deny there's something genuine about your journey. Sometimes you'll meet resistance. It's important to remember that not everyone is ready to change at the same pace. People can become defensive if they sense you're pointing out their flaws. That's why the most powerful approach to empowerment is simply being your transformed self. Without even trying, your energy and presence can challenge people to examine their own patterns. Some will rise to meet you. Others might distance themselves. Both outcomes are part of the ripple effect. In certain circles, you'll hear talk of controversies surrounding spiritual influencers, people accused of manipulating followers with promises of instant enlightenment. Indeed, there are always opportunists, but genuine empowerment differs because it leaves the other person in command of their own journey. You're not there to recruit believers, you're there to demonstrate freedom, so they know it's possible to claim their own. Here's a paradox that can throw off even the most determined soul. True power also involves surrender. It's counterintuitive. After mustering courage, facing fears, and unlocking your warrior spirit, the last thing you'd expect is to hear, "Now, let go." Yet it's precisely this act of trust, of aligning with what some call the divine flow, that brings a profound sense of ease to your journey. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean shrugging your shoulders and allowing life to toss you about. On the contrary, surrender is about recognizing that some aspects of your path are orchestrated by a higher intelligence, a blueprint that surpasses your immediate understanding. You still show up every day with your best effort, but you release the need to micromanage every outcome. People often misunderstand this part, believing they'll lose their individuality or become mere pawns in some cosmic game. But ironically, surrender often amplifies your sense of individuality. You feel more in tune with life's currents, and you see coincidences align in your favor. The right people cross your path at the right moments. Solutions appear where you once saw walls. This synergy is the divine flow at work, supporting you in ways you couldn't plan on your own. Some critics roll their eyes at the notion of a divine blueprint, calling it an escape from reality. However, if you examine the lives of many successful innovators, people who change the world in surprising ways, you'll discover they frequently relied on an inner knowing. They trusted their instincts when logic screamed otherwise. That's a form of surrender, letting the intangible guide you when the tangible looks murky. And it's often the missing piece that unites raw talent with meaningful purpose. By now, you've traversed an arc that spans hidden callings, shattered illusions, battles with fear, and the warrior spirit that emerges when you decide enough is enough. You've seen how your journey can spark similar awakenings in others, and how real freedom involves trusting a power beyond your immediate comprehension. Yet this story is not an ending, it's an invitation to a new beginning. Every conclusion births a next step. If you feel that surge of electricity within, something that keeps urging you forward, don't brush it aside. Explore it. Whether you stand at the threshold of a spiritual epiphany, a bold career move, or a total life overhaul, the energy fueling you is the same. It's your innate capacity for growth. It demands you embrace change and uproot fear, forging a path no one else can replicate. Before you fully close this chapter, ask yourself, what will I do with this awareness? Will you carry on as if you never felt the stirring of something greater? Or will you take even the smallest action toward living in alignment with your truth? Remember, progress isn't measured by leaps alone. Sometimes the most significant changes start with a single, resolute step. Perhaps that step is sharing your newfound perspective with a friend who's ready to listen. Maybe it's setting boundaries with someone who constantly drains your energy. Or it could be a deeper commitment, diving into knowledge, seeking mentorship, or dedicating yourself to daily practices that strengthen your mind and spirit. Whatever you choose, understand that you're not alone on this path. Countless others are navigating the same uncharted terrain, each guided by an inner calling that refuses to be silenced. As you move forward, keep this final thought close. You are more powerful than you've ever been taught to believe. The illusions that once stifled you are, in truth, paper tigers. The fear that held you back is a temporary shadow cast by uncertainty. Within you lies a reservoir of courage and insight, waiting to be unleashed. Whether you call it destiny, higher power, or simply self-actualization, it's knocking on your door. Now is the time to answer. And with that, your new horizon stretches wide before you, filled with possibilities, sprinkled with challenges, and radiant with the glow of an unfolding purpose. Step boldly. The world is ready for what you have to offer. Above all, remember, this journey isn't just about finding your own power. It's about inspiring others to seek theirs. In that sense, your story belongs to something far larger, an ever-evolving tapestry woven by all who dare to awaken. Go, and let your every step be a testament to the remarkable path you've chosen. You are free, you are powerful, and you are needed. Let that be your guiding truth from this moment on.